I turned it on. Okay. Superintendent's report. Let us turn to Superintendent Dixon.
Thank you. Chair Moss, if I may ask for student art recognition at the beginning. It's kind of split between Employee of the Month on the agenda. So Lori, are you ready? Dr. Norman? Just want to make sure we're calling for our arts team to come up and present student art. Yes, you were. It's all good. Need a podium mic.
Hello, board. My name is Jamie Workman, and I am the BTS specialist here at USBE. And I have the privilege today to introduce some BTS art. So I'm going to start, but we're going to do like normal, but then we're going to do a couple things a little differently today. So the first thing I would like to direct your attention is these beautiful aspen trees. And this was made by the Midway Elementary School, 4th grade. And our new position of coach for a rural area given by Liz Brown, this was taught to teach the teacher how to implement more arts in her every day. So there's two main things that they learned in conjunction with how to watercolor these. And the first thing was how organisms work together to create a pando that we have here in Utah. The other thing, which I specifically loved, was that this is now our state tree, which is the aspen. It used to be the Colorado blue spruce. And it was changed by a group of 4th graders writing in. So they have a wonderful civic lesson with this learning how to paint and with science standards as well. And that is wonderful integration. We also, over here, have on the younger end, kindergarten students creating fall leaves. And one of their core standards was learning about the weather patterns and seasons. And so this they related to warm and cool colors and the changes of season. In the back, and that is from Duchesne Elementary. In the back, we also have examples of different natural systems that they were doing in a really quick way so they could promote ecosystems. So here is the time for something different. If you look over here, there are some QR codes. These QR codes are linked to student videos in music and dance. And so we kind of set this up so we can keep some of the students' privacy from being shown on YouTube. So I know that you guys sit a lot, so I would encourage you to stand and go scan them. But we also have a copy for each of you if you'd like us to bring it around. So that, and the biggest thank you for supporting the BTS Arts program. It is amazing what our very qualified teachers are getting up to. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And I would encourage you all to do as Jamie has asked, and that we stand up and go look at those I'm sure we'll have a break shortly. Thank you. I love that so much. Thank you. All right. With the great assist of Ryan. I would like to introduce to you our Employee of the Month, who many of you know, and some of you have been around a bit have known, Coordinator Wendy Morton from Career and Technical Education for quite a while. I was so thrilled to see her nominated. It's one of those where you see the nomination come across And the Employee of the Month committee sends it forward to me, our Employee Action Committee rather, and I have to approve or not approve. And of course, I've never disapproved anyone that I can remember. But in particular, when I saw Wendy's name, I was really thrilled because she has been a leader in this organization for a very long time. She's the kind of person, this is from her nominator. She is the kind of person that you always hope you'll get to work with. She's dependable, innovative, and always understands the big picture of our work. She strives to serve our stakeholders and to earn their trust in all that she does. She's always looking for ways to improve processes. She is a well-respected leader in our state and across the country, actually. People call her from all over the country to ask her questions. Now, I have to tell you that I didn't realize, I may have mentioned this before, but I didn't realize until this summer that I think we're the only state that requires CTE for graduation. And so many other states are working on initiatives trying to figure out how to get their kids engaged in career and technical education, which was really surprising to me. I just assumed it was a requirement for everyone. So a lot of people call and ask about the programs we have. How do we get so many pathways up and going? And Wendy is really well respected for her knowledge. I personally know that anything I need to know about career and technical education, I can ask Wendy, and she really has data behind it. She's very data-driven and has brought that to the forefront. When we're in leadership council or in different calls, Wendy always asks really good questions that are data-based. She wants to know what's working, how will things make a difference. She's just an awesome employee. She has the highest ethics in her work. She really is great at managing funds and providing checks and balances. So when you talk about internal controls, Wendy is somebody who really understands that and brings that to career and technical education and teaches all of us. So we're really proud to honor Wendy. Unfortunately, she can't be here. She had a family emergency today, so she isn't here with us. But when you see Wendy, please give her a shout out or send her an email or a text. She is awesome, and we all love working with Wendy. She's been a great support to our educators and our students for many years. So congratulations to Wendy Morton. So recently, I had this great opportunity. It's a blessing and a gift to travel, and I had this opportunity to be in Prague. And I was in the Jewish quarters and went to a number of synagogues, and I came across something that just stopped me in my tracks. And I really took it in, and I wanted to share it with you as a precursor to the goal that we'll be talking about in reporting out the strategic plan on the significance of teachers and leaders. You all know that the teacher is the number one factor in school that makes a difference in student outcomes, and the leader is second to that. So I ran across a teacher that I want to tell you about, and thanks to Ryan, he found this great quote that I'll read for those online who may not be watching. Friedel's teaching, it's titled The Role of Teachers. Friedel's teaching, the time spent drawing with her, are among the fondest memories of my life. Terezin made it more poignant, but it would have been the same anywhere in the world. Friedel was the only one who taught without ever asking for anything in return. She just gave of herself. And this came from Erna Furman, who was a student. So let me tell you a little bit about Friedel Dicker Brandeis. In the fall of 1942, Brandeis received a deportation order. And on December 17th, she was sent to Terezin, which was a Jewish ghetto and concentration camp in the Czech Republic. And it's about, I think, 40 miles north of Prague. As an art teacher in Terezin, she saw her goal as restoring the shaken inner world of the children. She used a system to develop emotional concentration in order to compensate for the chaos of time and space. While there in the ghetto, she taught drawing to hundreds of children. She also designed sets and costumes for children's performances. She made an exhibition of children's drawings in the basement of her house. In October of 1944, Friedel was deported to Auschwitz together with some of her students, where she was killed. After her death, over 5,000 drawings made in her classes were found, and most of them are now in the Jewish Museum in Prague. I had the privilege to see probably 30 of these drawings that were in a particular synagogue. And they were thematic in the way that they were grouped together. So you saw where she would say, draw your favorite childhood memory or draw a holiday memory, really trying to keep them positive, but also drawing on, what they're feeling now. And so the drawings didn't need any words. You could just look at the drawing and think about the child behind the pencil, the crayon, the watercolor. So I was so struck by the difference that this teacher made for students in the worst of times. And for better or worse, our teachers are showing up every day, and I'm thinking about some of the time we spend on a word. This is certainly not a criticism because you're working so hard to get things right. But sometimes we'll spend, a long time on just getting a word right, and I have to stop and wonder, would that have made a difference to Mrs. To Friedel, and how does it make a difference to our teachers in the classrooms now? And I hope we always think about that. I believe you have that in your heart always when you're making these decisions. How does this affect our teachers, our leaders, and our kiddos? And maybe that's a way to sort through what matters and what doesn't. So with that, I want to go through, I didn't mean to start out in a somber way, but it's just such a powerful role that I wanted to share with you about a woman who, for a couple of years, really kept kids together through her work and her focus, not only just with art, but really helping them be disconnected from chaos for a bit. I also went on some school visits, and this was during the interim meeting in St. George, and I took the opportunity to see a brand new high school, Career Tech High, which you've heard me talk about. The best source of information is always, for me, interviewing students. So I had the opportunity to interview this group of students, and they're from a variety of schools. And in this particular school, they are picked up at their home school, bused into Career Tech High, and then they spend the day there. So they have their core courses there, unlike some of our other programs that we've talked about, Catalyst and Granite Technical Institute and Jordan Tech Center. And a lot of these, they do their core classes and then come for the technical courses. In this particular case, those core courses follow the standards, but they're also woven into the technical pathways that they get. So it was just really marvelous to see the different kinds of roles that they have for adults in the system as well, of mentors and those who can kind of shepherd them into apprenticeships and internships. And in its first year, the kids are so enthusiastic. They come as far away as Enterprise, which, remember, Norton is probably 45-minute bus ride at least. And a lot of the kids were by car 45, and a lot of kids from Hurricane and all of the schools around. So they come a great distance, but really a great concept. And I loved interacting with the teachers who were so excited to be there, and the kids were very excited. The next school I visited was really thinking about literacy. And again, just trying to be more focused this year on my classroom visits and using ULEAD and our data from literacy and numeracy, and trying to get out and see where can we see great outcomes from students. So I was able to visit South Mesa Elementary. They have a very high percentage of their students who are reading at grade level by third grade, and great proficiency scores. Their principal, who's in the middle, and their assistant principal both have their reading endorsements and have taken their entire staff through letters training. So they're all not only fully trained, but these two as leaders know what to look for in the classroom because they've been through a reading endorsement, the letters training, and the leadership training around letters. Their whole community, the parents, everybody's engaged in a literacy effort, and it's paying off. Listen, the library is just a magical place to be, both in decor and the contests, and it's a place kids thrive in. They love to be in the library. And then last but not least, George Washington Academy. And Chair Moss, you can help me if I misstate this, but I think it's one of our oldest, our veteran, I will say, charter schools. It's definitely, I think, the first one that was in St. George, if I'm not. Oh, Royce, you're still back there. So you could, am I getting it even close? It's been around a while. 20 years. Okay. I love George Washington. It was a great, fun place to be. And these were my student docents. And I tried to fit the little guy on the right into my purse to bring him home with me. He was just a little too big. He didn't quite fit. But they were so articulate about the creed of their school. They can tell you about their values, their creed, what they're studying, why they're studying it, and they were so articulate. But their values and the culture of the school are as important to these kiddos as the academic subjects that they're studying. Now, they were weaving them all together, and they could tell you why academics were important, but also articulate then the values on top of the academics. And they've got just great leadership there, and it was a very fun place to visit. I think the adults said very little, and the students said it all. They were awesome. So based on those school visits, just the role of the teacher and the leader keep coming back to me about whatever we can do to provide the resources they need and the room, meaning get out of the way when we can, for them to be innovative and do their best work. And just really had such an excellent experience in Washington County schools, including the charter school there. So as we move into our goals, I would just share appreciation to you all for focusing on teachers and leaders. You do it often, and it's very much appreciated. I want to talk to you and report back to you about how staff is following through on the strategies of the strategic plan. Excuse me. So 2A is to support districts and schools in providing effective mentoring for beginning educators and leaders. And I will tell you that I've been around a long time, and we have stayed away from doing anything top-down with mentoring. We've had some standards in place for mentoring, but we've lacked in resources. And while there's some out there, and we've dabbled here and there, this strategy has provided a way for our schools to have comprehensive support. So we've engaged in creating an endorsement, which we've had people asking for a while. And our leaders out in our schools feel like with this mentor endorsement, there's consistency, and the mentors out there are well trained and know what to look for. So we have had 5 LEAs who have applied to take mentors through endorsement. So they've taken what we do and they've said, we want to give these endorsements out in our district. And we expect that there will be over 40 applications for more LEAs to do so. We've had about 70 applicants or 70 mentors go through the program. And then we've also awarded 0.5 credit, USBE credit, for each, excuse me, for each of the required modules in the endorsement. Sorry about that. So we also, you can see here, we have a list that I'll show you in a minute, but we've also in 2B assisted districts and schools in providing continuous personalized professional learning for educators and leaders. So again, coaching, just like mentoring, coaching's been around a long time, decades, right, Dr. Norman? And there has been some malpractice in the name of instructional coaching. So we've had standards out there, there have been resources, but we haven't always coalesced around how can we support with resources, training modules, et cetera, endorsements, things that the field has been asking for. So we have responded with an instructional coaching endorsement, and you can see there that over 850 educators have obtained their own instructional coaching endorsement. And many of them have used the tools that we've developed here at USBE, and it has really created a talent pipeline for LEAs, because one of the things we know about retention is that if you can find ways for teachers to stay in the classroom and find ways to be leaders, of which coaching is one, mentoring is one, that they're more likely to stay. So feeling like they're making a difference and they have a different skill set, we have seen coaches and mentors impact retention for sure. Here are the LEAs that are facilitating their own endorsement courses. Most of them, in fact, I think all of them are using our tools, and they partner with us in doing so. Granite has an asterisk by their name because they have their own endorsement, but they partner with our staff and with the University of Utah to facilitate that work. So it's pretty exciting to see everybody that's involved. Strategy 2F is increasing the supply of transformational school leaders across the state. And what we mean by transformational is taking their schools from good to great, or their schools from schools that are struggling into schools that are really thriving. And so it's helping leaders with those skills around culture, rigor, high academic standards, community involvement, parent relations, all of those kinds of things. So we have these professional principal networks, PPNs for short, so that we've added another acronym to our very long list of education acronyms. And we've contracted with the Utah Education Policy Center, who provides facilitator training, and we compensate the facilitators for this work. And I think you can see those on the next slide, right? Yes, so you can see the different networks to include like new Beverly Taylor Sorensen Arts specialists, principals, new principals in the elementary level, new principals at the high school level. I want to give a shout out to Assistant Superintendent Nelson. I don't know if Darren's still out there in the audience. Darren, will you stand? Or is he in the overflow? Okay, Darren, stand there in that doorway. We need a spotlight on you, though. So Darren did some, Assistant Superintendent Nelson did some great work when he was in Box Elder. And I was in another district at the time, and then here at the state office, and I got to watch him really transform leadership in a district. And I so appreciate, Darren, what you've brought to the state in informing these PPNs, and a lot of this leadership framework. So Darren would never take the credit for it, but his leadership has so influenced the work that we're doing with school leaders, and it's really making a difference in this state. So I wanted to acknowledge him and not tell anybody that I was going to do that, including him. So thank you, Assistant Superintendent Nelson, for the influence that you've had on leadership.
Hey, Sid, Dr. Dixon, can I make
Yes,
a
ma'am.
statement about that?
Yes, and I'm finished with my presentation, so
okay.
perfect timing.
Thank you. I actually had the opportunity to lead one of those PPNs, and it was an amazing experience. We were in the Wasatch Front, and it was a mix of charter, traditional LEA, grade levels, types of schools. And one thing in particular that the participants talked about was the, now I can't even think of it. What is it? Problem of practice protocol. And the problem of practice protocol, it's a problem-solving, brainstorming activity where all members participate, and it's amazing the outcomes of those. And I know several of the participants have taken those back to their districts, and including myself, and trained principals, groups of principals. So while the PPNs might be small, they are mighty, and it's not a big, doesn't cost a lot of money. It's not terribly flashy, but it has some of the biggest impact of any professional development I've been involved in. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. Appreciate that. Back to you,
All
Charles.
right, thank you. Thank you all.